Πάροχος της Καστοριάς τραβούσε τα μαλλιά του σαν ήρθανε τα ανταρκτικά στην περιφέρεια του σαν ήρθανε τα ανταρκτικά.
Okay, there we go. Say something.
Hello, test. Trump is an asshole.
Okay, there we go. Excellent. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah. Right.
Okay, how's that? Let me see here. Okay, there's the frame. How's that? I don't know if I can handle this.
Oh, and you
Okay.
have a keffiyeh on. Don't you realize that's a symbol of terror, don't you?
Terrorist symbol. Yeah, I know, right?
Too fucking bad, motherfucker. Too fucking bad, motherfucker.
I know, right? Yeah, I know. That's like that's the thing, right? Who the fuck what was it? Some teacher just got booted out. Yet another victim of this crap. Was it Colombia or something? He got lost tenure because he wore a keffiyeh to class.
Yeah, it could have been. I've been reading a handful. I don't remember that one, but there's a handful for sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
All
a number of them. Let's see here. Okay, make sure. Okay, all right. I think we're pretty much ready to rock, my man.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So
we're back.
We're back.
3
Welcome
months
back.
later. Whose fault is
3
that?
months later.
I
think it's probably
yours.
I would blame
yours.
I would blame Jill Stein. No.
Why not? She's gonna get blamed for everything anyway.
Poor woman. God, yeah. It's the Arabs. It's the anti-genocide voters. Am I not supposed to say that? Is that on the list? Did we check the list for?
I think genocide is a word that you can't say. Israel and Israeli are words you can't say. I don't have to. I think we should do our best to not curse. That'll be a little hard. But other than that, I think we should just do what we do.
Okay, not fucking curse.
Fucking curse.
No mentions of Israel. We'll fix this all in post. I'll insert. We'll have a little bleep track. Right. No. I am back. I'm back from Catalonia. It was good. It was good.
I bet the food was really good. I bet the wine was really good.
Oh, it was so incredible, and just the people. It's just, man, I got to tell you, it was nice to be at a place that was. I mean, you probably could find a pro-Israeli person somewhere, but I didn't fucking meet a single one. It was like I never got scolded once. I never got, there was not a single person that I talked to about it that was like, tried to equivocate or give me some line of bullshit about how, oh, well, we have to this or that or whatever, or like, there was none of that. It was just like, unequivocal support. Like, yeah, I don't know how how it's crazy that anybody is supporting. It was just, 100% supportive. Stickers and graffiti everywhere. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was good. I didn't want to come back. I like my family was home. My parents were visiting, so I wanted to see them. There was loose ends at work I wanted to tie up, but like, I'll be goddamned if and there's, a handful of friends that I love and wanted to see, but goddamn, man, it
was good to be there. Huh?
Yeah, it was good to be there.
It's when we went to visit an old family friend in Portugal in April, and walking around Coimbra, the graffiti was like that as well.
Love it. I love Coimbra.
Yeah, it's
such a wonderful place.
And food in Spain. I spent a little bit of time once upon a time in Madrid. And oh my God, the Pablo Neruda Park is just this incredibly beautiful place. And then there's a I don't remember the street that it's on, but it's this big street. There's a little cafe on the corner called Café Ute. Café Ute. And you sit outside. It was magnificent. It was and I was sitting there in Madrid when I got stuck there, and when I was there, I should say. And there was it wasn't the running of the bulls, because it wasn't running, but there was this procession of bulls down the street. I didn't quite understand it. I asked some guy who was there, and he told me, no, I forgot what it was. But what a great city!
Oh,
And
I love it.
And the Prado Museum, and and my absolute favorite was, what's it called? It's called the Mercado Oriental. I think this is the Eastern Market. Oh my God! It's just,
oh yeah,
you
that's
walk
cool,
in this big open. It's not open air; it's all glassed in, but it's inside the building. It's all open, and good wine, good food, good bocas, good you name it, everything. Oh my gosh, it was just
I love it.
Cool place.
Oh,
so I guess
God,
there's a little bit to talk about the latest events in the United States.
Yes. Let me the pre-roll. We are back, comrades. Welcome back. Welcome back to us. We love you. We're so happy to be with you here again. This is Comrade Uncle. I am nephew, Comrade Nephew Odysseus. This is my comrade Uncle Ibrahim Yusuf Layoun. And we are here to talk to you about Catalunya.
Well, we could talk about that, and Madrid, which is awfully nice. We could talk about Portugal, or we could talk instead about the election disaster in the United States and what that might all mean. I think it's worth talking about. It's interesting. My aside from hospital focus, my focus has been for the last year on what's going on in Gaza, and it's what's intriguing is there's a handful of people. I mean, one or two of them I actually know personally, but mostly I don't. But they're really quite bright, quite thoughtful, and they had been talking as the election neared that there's really no difference at all between Trump and Harris. And of course, what the focus, of course, was international relations, was foreign policy. And in that context, I actually think they're, I'm sorry to say, close. It's correct. It actually is correct. I mean, Harris, as we well know now, lost the election. I think she lost the election months ago when she decided to recruit the Cheneys, war criminals. Sorry, they are war criminals to help her. When she ignored her base, when she ignored the progressive wing of her party, when she told the young progressives, I say young, I don't even know if they were young. When she told the progressives who asked her about her policy and Biden's policy on the genocide in Gaza, she said, "I'm speaking." Basically, shut up. Basically, shut up. I think she lost the election when she backtracked from her support of Green New Deal, when she backtracked on her support of Medicare for all, when she backtracked on her support of, at least I'm pretty sure she did, her support of a living wage. I mean, nobody in the history, at least my understanding of the history of the United States and its politics, is that if I've got the opportunity to either vote for an absolute right-wing creep or a quasi-right-wing, sort of not so creepy, says nice words and smiles, I'll go for the right-winger, the real right-winger. That's what the United States does. They don't want Republican light. What people I think want is an alternative. And of course, she offered no alternative.
Right. I mean, it was one of a handful. I mean, sending not one but two Zionists to Michigan to berate Arab voters she sends Bill Clinton of all people, and he goes there and tells them, you don't know what you're talking about. You guys, if you knew more about it, you would support the Israelis. And what would you do if it was your family that you were peacefully living outside of Gaza and then you were slaughtered? You wouldn't want moderation. You wouldn't be counting the amount of debt. It's just like crazed. And then the other one, what was this? Josh, what was his name?
Greetings, comrades. It is I, future Odysseus, here again, your nephew. And I'm just breaking in here to give a little that context. It was Richie Torres was the guy who showed up in Michigan to stump for Harris and be a colossal piece of garbage. to put it lightly. So check this out. Notably, Torres emphasized that Harris's team had rejected calls by the Michigan-based organizers of the uncommitted protest movement for speaking slot at the Democratic National Convention. The movement wanted Palestinian Americans to speak, and Harris made the controversial move because she didn't want to risk any chance of any speaker opposing Israel. Skipping ahead a little bit, this is from an article in some god-awful rag. What is this? Jewish Telegraphic Agency. At any rate, let's see here. Oh yeah, this is some good shit right here. God, I hate this guy. This is who they sent. Unbelievable. He said, all people of all backgrounds should be welcome at the DMC, but not all messages should be given a microphone on the Democratic Party's most important stage, Torres told JTA. A pro-Israel party like the Democratic Party has every right to filter out anti-Israel messaging, just like a pro-choice party has every right to filter out anti-choice messaging. He added that he believes Harris, quote, falls squarely within the bipartisan pro-Israel consensus that has historically governed American politics. So this is the guy they sent to Michigan. It goes on, and he goes on at some length. So anyway, that's enough of that. And I'm also going to pop in a little bit of Bill Clinton's horse shit, because why not? Because it's a treat, a little extra, a little something special. You can have a little Clinton as a treat. Don't wish any good upon him, but somebody should give the guy a glass of water. This man was smacking his dry chops so much that my ears hurt. Ugh. Anyway, enjoy. Jeez. Future Odysseus out.
I understand why young Palestinian and Arab Americans in Michigan think too many people have died. I get that. But if you lived in one of those kibbutzim in Israel, right next to Gaza, where the people there were the most pro-friendship with Palestine, most pro-two-state solution of any of the Israeli communities, were the ones right next to Gaza. And Hamas butchered them. And so then the people who criticize it are essentially saying, yeah, but look how many people you've killed in Ritalin. So how many is enough for you to kill to punish them for the terrible things they did? That all sounds nice until you realize, what would you do if it was your family and you hadn't done anything but support a homeland for the Palestinians, and one day they come for you and slaughter the people in your village? You would say, well, you'll have to forgive me, I'm not keeping score that way. It isn't how many we've had to kill, because Hamas makes sure that they're shielded by civilians. They'll force you to kill civilians if you want to defend yourself. And I think part of it is that Hamas did not care about a homeland for the Palestinians. They wanted to kill Israelis and make Israel uninhabitable. Well, I got news for them. They were there first. Before their faith existed, they were there. In the time of King David, and the southernmost tribes had Judea and Samaria. This is far more complicated than you know.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. She said an even worse guy, and he said even worse things. Or when she was interviewed, I don't know if you saw this interview where she was. They were asking her, "Are you worried about about the Gaza issue affecting your election chances?" And she responds by just totally, by literally saying that 300,000 or however many all the Palestinian dead weren't as important as the 1,000 Israeli dead. It was just like, and this was days ago. It was just like, what are you doing?
I actually didn't hear that interview.
Oh,
I
so
did hear
bad.
the interview where she was
I'll
asked
splice
about
it
it,
in.
and she commented briefly that it was a problem, but people want cheaper grocery prices.
Yes, that was very similar.
But the truth be told, I mean, it's as evident as can be. I mean, it's not a surprise, it's not a secret that Palestinian / Lebanese lives are clearly valued much less by the leadership of our country, and of course Israel, than our Israeli
Right.
lives. And it is. I mean, we can talk about the Israeli situation a little bit later in a few minutes, but there are, what concerns me. I mean, I'm concerned about what's going on in Lebanon and in Palestine, the West Bank as well as Gaza. I mean, it is a genocide, and in fact, just so you know, I sent you an email with the U.S. It's 18 U.S.C. 1901, I believe it is the or 9401. I'm forgetting now, which is the law that defines for the United States what genocide is. We should put that up, because there's a fair amount of I think disingenuous debate about whether this is really a genocide or not. Well, it's not like 6 million people are dead or anything. It's irrelevant. I mean, what the Israelis have done is basically they've killed members of the group, significant numbers, probably around 200. Yeah, that's it. It's probably around 200,000 or more people. But, the 40 or 50,000 that are recognized are only recognized because their bodies were brought to what remains of a hospital, where they were identified and put into the log. But if you're not brought to hospital, and the hospitals have all been now either destroyed or severely damaged, you're not recognized. So it's probably something on the order of 200 to 300,000 people.
Yeah.
200 to
300,000.
So there's that. There's the loss of all the hospitals. There's the loss of all the infrastructure, water, sewage,
starvation,
starvation as a tool of war, and of course the domicide as well as scholasticide. This is clearly genocide, and the whether it is Trump, who will, I think, speed it up, or Harris, who would have kept it going. I think in that sense, I don't know if she would have sped it up, but in that sense, there's no difference between the two. That's disgusting. There are some differences domestically, and while I don't want to get too wound up for what Trump might do, I think it's Maya Angelou, I believe, who said, "When someone tells you who they are the first time, believe them." Yeah, and he has said who he is. He is, if not an ideological fascist, he's at least a sloppy fascist, meaning he fulfills the criteria and he doesn't even know that he's fulfilling the criteria. Yeah, we've got. I mean, the things that are of concern is he has already stated that he will speed up the genocide in Gaza, so that's of concern, of course. He's also got this Project 2025, which at least the policies may not be absolutely new, but the codification of them into this document, which is also sent to you, and so you can put it on our website, are very concerning. Now, it's a 1,000-page document.
That is comradeunclepod.com. comradeunclepod.com. Might as well just say that. Okay, go ahead. Continue, please.
What he said, yes. And but I did look at the sections that I have some facility with. So I looked at the health-related sections.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, including Trump has already said he'll push for a national abortion ban. But what these guys have also done is in the Project 2025, under the section on Health and Human Services, Health and Human Services, is they've said that they are going to outlaw the mifepristone, mifepristol, the medical abortion treatment.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I mean, I think we have to believe that what these guys say they're going to do, they're going to try and do. And there's more than that, right? If you read the section on the CIA, on FISA, on the workforce of the U.S. government, right? Mm-hmm. One of the reforms of the 2 centuries ago, in the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, I think it was late 1800s, was that the bureaucrats in the government became professional. You couldn't just fire them because you don't like their politics. They're recommending that we move back to that again. And it wouldn't surprise me if they were successful at that. So I think domestically, there is significant damage that's going to be done to us from everything starting from tax policy, more tax cuts for the rich, the poor will pay more. You know, and that, by the way, his tariff policy, which I'm convinced he doesn't understand what a damn tariff even is, but his tariff policy will increase prices for working people, the poor. So everything from financial policy to health policy to military policy to of course foreign policy, and I'm thinking specifically now of Palestine, Gaza, will be worsened. Now, what he will do, he can't function, you know, as Marx once supposedly said. Marx was actually sitting down reading a newspaper, probably having a good cup of coffee, maybe a beer. And a reporter walked
Certainly
up to him
a cigar.
and said, certainly a cigar. Said, Professor Marx, you know, you've written about the centrality of the working class to the movement of history. But if that's really true, well, then why can't the working class just make it happen, change it all right now? And Marx looked at him. Again, this may be apocryphal, but it's okay. Marx looked at him and said, oh, my dear friend, he said, you know, yes, the working class is a motor force of history, but they can't just function any old way they wish. They are constrained by the historical times they're in. They're kind of like a little puppy dog on the back of a pony cart with a long leash. They can go a little to the right, a little to the left, a little ahead, a little behind, but the pony cart is going to go in the direction it's going to go. And that I bring up that possibly apocryphal, probably is apocryphal, but it doesn't matter, example, because Trump will not be able to do just what he will. The U.S. today isn't the U.S. of 1991 in terms of power, economic, or military. There is, in the context of what he might do internationally, specifically now thinking about West Bank, Gaza, Palestine, there are other actors. Hezbollah, the Lebanese resistance, has, as far as I can tell from everything I read, fought the Israelis to a standstill. They're unable to really enter much of Lebanon. Hamas has not been defeated. They are still injuring, wounding, and killing soldiers, destroying tanks and APCs. And then there's Iran, and you know, I mean, every country, as Professor Marandi says, from the guy he's the head of English literature and I think he's a dean now too at the University of Tehran. Every country's got its problems. Iran has its problems, but in the context of Palestine, Gaza, Lebanon, they are one of the centers of the resistance, and they have rather significantly damaged Israel with their last attack. And my understanding is they're preparing to do yet another one. So
I think it's worth saying.
Just
go ahead. Sorry.
Trump and Israel can't, and I say Trump and Israel because clearly the U.S. government and the Israeli government work hand in glove. Can't just do what they'd wish they could do. It's not a unipolar moment anymore.
Yeah.
So he will be limited in that sense. But my fear, my concern, right? I mean, it's like we gotta play the hand we've been dealt. My concern is that domestically there will be more horror for our people, even the people who voted for this clown. More horror, and foreign policy, specifically Ukraine, Gaza, Palestine, No, they're wrong. There'll be more terror there as well, horror there as well. I mean, that's the concern I have with this guy. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, what I was going to say is it's stating because sometimes this is lost, kind of the Israeli line on the Iranian attacks was that, oh, they didn't even kill anybody or whatever,
Yeah, right.
which is like laughable.
Not enough
But that's
civilians were killed. What's wrong with
right.
you?
No,
Right.
literally, that was like their whole, it's because that's how they think apparently,
Yeah.
or clearly. But in fact the goal was not, and maybe I'll splice in some images here. But the goal was clearly not that, but to attack military targets, and that
Yeah.
they succeeded at. I saw some images of a bunch of destroyed F-35s. They struck air bases, and they weren't aiming to kill people.
Oh,
They
you
were
say
aiming
if you,
to.
I've not seen I've seen the airfield with damage.
Hmm.
I haven't seen the F-35s destroyed. That if you got photos of that, that'd be good to put on. Okay, I'm sorry
Yeah,
for interrupting. Go
yeah,
ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Let me see if I can find them again.
Greetings, greetings, greetings from the future. It is I, Future Odysseus, breaking in to tell you that Isn't Real had a bunch of the videos and pictures taken down, so it has become increasingly difficult to find them. I'll go searching some more, but anyway, here's some stuff that I did find. I've spliced it in here. If you are only listening, then you'll hear some strikes, and to cut a long story short, 96, I believe it was, strikes hit inside of the base. So pretty unlikely that it didn't do some damage. At any rate, they lie a lot. So no surprises there. My favorite copium video from their response is this one of this, one of their guys standing in front of a single F-35 and being like, there was nothing that they have done to us, with this weird little lisp. Hamas did not attack the base. Anyway, future issues out. Everything we do not like is Hamas. Missiles are Hamas. Hummus that is not Sabra is Hamas. Strikes are Hamas. F-35s are not Hamas.
At any rate, so yeah, that's to the earlier point and to the later point. Certainly. What I don't want to give the impression of is that I don't blame anybody for not voting for Harris. I get it. I do. I 100% do, and I think that there might even be. I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's hard to say in the long term, but I'm on one level really glad that a candidate that is actively committing genocide did not get elected. Now, does that mean Trump's going to be better? I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not. I'm positive not. I don't think he will be. In any respect, not domestically, possibly not internationally. I'm not sure. At least maybe there could be some whatever. It doesn't really even bear speculating, but maybe there could be some de-escalation in our proxy war with Russia. But that said, of course, what you're saying is true. The plans, the Republican plans, not just this year, but for the past, 50 years, I don't know, 100 years maybe, 50 at least, neoconservative plans have been horrible for women, for minorities, for everybody, really. Actually, ultimately, like you said,
for climate. I mean, there is an existential threat. Actually,
Yeah.
Harris said the existential threat was Iran, which is absolutely absurd. The existential threat is, well, actually two: nuclear war, which
Yep.
Biden has pushed us closer to,
Hmm.
and the climate emergency, which,
Yep.
to his credit, Biden did make some moves. I mean,
Some
you
very
can't
small.
minimize those. They were small,
Yeah.
and we need to do more. And
Much
this
more.
is not like some theoretical, God, if we just had the technology. The
No.
technology to solve this problem in a handful of years exists today. Full stop.
And
An investment of
our
$1 trillion
warmongering.
a
Yep.
year, $1
Yeah. Go
trillion
ahead.
a year, and after 10 years, you would have a return on investment of about $100 million. This is fixable. It's doable, but we're not doing it. Instead,
Yeah.
we're supporting wars that actually worsen the climate emergency.
Right.
So
Right. I think it's the genocide is create. I mean, it is truly an ecocide as well. I can't remember what
yes,
the exact numbers. I'll try
yes.
and get the numbers, but it's like bigger than the bottom. It has released more emissions than the bottom, like, I don't know, 100 and
Oh,
something
yes.
countries.
That
I don't
was
know if you
in
saw that.
that was in the, I think it was in the Guardian. I didn't I don't think I saved it, but I read, but it was something to that effect,
Right.
that the emissions released, but with all this weaponry, bombs, airplanes, tanks,
Right.
has way overshot our quote budget unquote of what we're allowed to do, and still stay safe, which we're clearly not safe.
Right.
By the way,
Right.
not safe. Just look at what happened a month ago in Asheville, North Carolina. Look what just happened in Spain, and look what just happened actually in Israel as well. These horrific floods. So
Yeah.
there is. So this is.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that's the existential threat. And
Yeah.
Trump is going to ignore it because he believes it's a Chinese hoax. And
Right.
our leadership under Biden and Harris haven't done enough, had clearly not done enough. I mean,
Yeah.
so there's that
Yeah.
issue. And
Counterproductive, in fact. I mean, like refusing.
we're fracking
We
more fracking.
we blame Trump rightfully for his hostility towards China, but of course Biden did it too, right? He refused to allow. We could be having $20,000 EVs, electric cars or whatever, right now if we just stopped harassing China and allowed them to sell cars to us. But instead
Yeah.
we're escalating. It's
Yeah. No,
it's absurd.
you're 100% right on that. So I mean, those are the things that worry me. I mean, and then there's sort of the I don't not banal, because it's not banal, but it's the stuff that
Mhm.
we're involved with every day. Like I'm involved with hospital work. I mean, my patients still come in and can't afford their medications.
Mhm.
Even
Yeah.
though there's this reform for $35 insulin. Which insulin is that, by the way? It's not all insulin. It's a variation on one of the insulins, but that's if you're on Medicare. People aren't
Really.
on Medicare. People work 3 jobs. They're too young to be on Medicare. They can't afford their medications. They come in time after time with uncontrolled diabetes and diabetic ketoacidosis. This is an absurdity. The data have been in for decades. For decades. We could cover everybody in our country. Frankly, whether you're a citizen or not, cover everybody for dental and medical and even long-term care, and we'd still save money. We still wouldn't spend as much as we already spend. The latest Kaiser Family Foundation, the latest Commonwealth study. These studies come out about every 2 to 3 years where they compare the top 10, 11, not the top 10, 11 health systems, but the richest 10, 11 countries in the world. And it's, Germany and Netherlands and France and Britain and US and Denmark and Sweden, so forth. Like, we are always number 11, the most expensive, the worst outcomes. And we were again this last one, the most expensive, the worst outcome. It's not because we have stupid nurses and stupid doctors, stupid administrators. None of it. It's the system that is so utterly screwed up that no matter how hard you try to make things better, you can't make things better. I just had a patient. He's admitted. Well, I can't remember exactly. He's been admitted probably at least every 3 weeks for the last months. I've forgotten exactly, but literally over and over and over. This guy is homeless, unhoused,
Yeah.
He's unhoused. He can't store his insulin. How much would we save, just in monetary terms, to say nothing of what we do for his
Right.
life, if we had a place where he could live? If we did
Right.
that, but no, we don't do that.
No,
And I've got
it's
a
much
handful
cheaper.
of patients that are. I got a handful of patients that are like that. Social services do their best, but they can't do this because there is no system in place to take care of these people who fall outside the white lines. So I'm terribly concerned. Again, we start talking about Trump versus Biden, but what it actually means. I'm not at all convinced that Harris would have been great on healthcare. She wouldn't be. She backed away
No.
from
Yeah.
Medicare for all. But this guy and the right wing in
No.
this
Yeah.
country, I mean, they are happy to see women die. They are happy to see homeless people die. They are happy to see, LGBTQ die. They don't care. They're pro-life. That's what Project 2045 says. They're
Yeah.
pro-life, but only to the point of birth. And then it's too bad, too sad, you're on your own.
Right.
It's pathetic. I mean, it's pro-birth. It's not pro-life. So that's of concern. And then, of course, we've got the issues that we've discussed a little bit already, which is this genocide being perpetrated by Israel, not just with our complicity. It's beyond that now. We are actively participating in this genocide. And it is a genocide. And the fact that we value life so little in that part of the world is just remarkable. And, of course, what people say, and I've heard it very recently. Well, I mean, if they didn't want a war with Israel, why'd they start a war with Israel? So, but the only way you can say stuff like that, the only reason anyone could make such a statement is if they're utterly ignorant of the history of the area. It hasn't mattered. First of all, that war, quote unquote war, that war between against the Palestinians, which was a European-Israeli war against the Europeans, started 100 years ago. First of all, it starts when the British, who think they've got the right to take over Palestine, the League of Nations gave them a mandate to take Palestine and make it ready for democracy. Right? Make it ready for democracy. They felt they had the right to do that, and then they felt they had the right because they're such anti-Semitic sons of fucking bitches. Forgive me, I know this is a queen, but they were so anti-Semitic. They, and there are others in Europe who did the same thing. The Poles, for example, were great at this. Said, let's just transfer these guys somewhere else. Hey, how about Palestine? And that's way before World War II and the Holocaust. Most Jews, from my reading and talking to people, would have said, no, we're not interested in that. We're German, we're English, we're Danish, we're Swedish, we're whatever we are. We have this religion, but come on. But after the Holocaust, it gained steam. And land that belonged to somebody else was taken. It's true. The UN did this deed. But remember, the UN in 1946-7 was not the UN of today. It was the UN that was made up of, frankly, not much more than post-World War II, or what was left of Europe and the United States. There wasn't much there.
Yeah.
And they did it. I mean, of course, Latin America and South America. And they, it wasn't theirs to give away.
Right.
And then, and so for the first, for the 48 to around 50, 60, I mean, there was no, quote, terror, unquote. There was no PLO. There was no nothing. And certainly, once the PLO formed and, the attempt was, first of all, to return to their homes. Israel was only allowed to become a member of the United Nations if it allowed Palestinians who had been displaced to go back to their homes or if they were compensated for the land they lost. They never did that. They did not fulfill the criteria to enter. If you fast forward, the Palestinians attempted both through the use of violence, it's true, but also through peaceful means to get some redress, always unsuccessful. And so when people say, well, why just start a war if you didn't want to have a war? Look what's happened. I mean, in 2018, I believe it was, the Great March of Return, where thousands marched up to the demarcation. It's not a border because Israel has no borders. They refused to define their borders. They marched up to the fence that was a demarcation, and said, we want to return to our homes. It was all peaceful. What was the Israeli response?
Children overwhelmingly. The
They
Israeli response was to use snipers to shoot people deliberately,
yep,
to give them what they called life-altering
yep,
wounds. So, in other words,
yep,
shoot people in the knees, shoot
yep,
people, paralyze them,
yep,
and that they did, in overwhelmingly children. And this is all very well documented. It's not like
yep.
speculation or there's
No,
claims.
no, no,
They
no.
tried peaceful methods. They really did, and
But you don't
they were
hear about
massacred.
it in the U.S. because
Right.
this is part of the, and it sort of gets back to the issue of
Right.
sorry, I'm looking to see what time it is. Okay.
Oh
It
yeah.
gets back
How
to
much
the
you
issue.
shoot?
15 minutes more. It gets
Okay.
back to
All
the
right.
issue of you know the election here, and
Yeah.
you know the media. I mean, I think we had pretty significant media malpractice
Yeah.
about what was going on here, and certainly the same thing what's going on there. I mean, this is probably not the place
Yeah.
to rehash all of it, but it's
No.
very intriguing that Israelis are killed where Palestinians
Mhm.
simply die. That
Yeah. Right.
bullets enter a car to kill a 6-year-old, but you know an Israeli is murdered.
Right.
It's as clear as can be that
The
there
way they
is.
talk about things is a complete double standard. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So you know, again, but I want us to be unequivocally just here. The international humanitarian law does
Mhm.
state that an occupied people have the right to resist, even violently. But it also
Exactly.
states that there are conditions that have to be fulfilled. Hamas, or if not Hamas themselves, people who followed on Hamas did commit crimes that are considered war crimes, killing civilians.
Sure.
You know, taking soldiers prisoner of war, that's not a crime. But
Right.
taking children and old people and just shooting people who have surrendered, and to their credit, now they're all, the leaders are dead. So, but to their credit, what Hamas had said was, we recognize the International Criminal Court. We will follow their findings. Let's have an
Yeah.
investigation. The Israelis
Right.
unequivocally, no, we don't want any part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they offered
So
to turn themselves in. They were like, as long as Netanyahu comes too, we're fine. And Ben Gvir.
so
Yeah.
you know,
So where does
but there
that leave
is
us?
well,
Yeah.
where does it leave us? Because we're running out of time. Where does that leave
Yeah.
us? Where it leaves us is there is a genocide that's ongoing. There is a war in Ukraine that the Ukrainians are losing. I did send you 2 documents that you ought to put on.
Mhm.
You know, again, there's probably not enough time to do this in the detail that needs to be done.
We'll go back
But
into it.
but is the fault of all of that war in Ukraine on the Russians, on Putin? You know,
No.
it is true that Putin made the decision to invade. That is true. And you know, you really shouldn't do that. You can't do that. You can't take land by force. That's the law. But it didn't start that day in February.
No.
There is a whole, and those are the documents I sent. There is a whole, and it's denied mostly in our country. There's a
Right.
whole history when Germany was reunited just before the USSR collapsed, where
Mhm.
Secretary of State Baker, meeting with Shevardnadze, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Gorbachev, said and put on paper that there will be
Right.
no expansion of NATO, not 1 inch beyond the borders of East Germany. They said it. It's there in writing. Now,
Yeah.
it's also true that it wasn't in a. Sorry, it wasn't. Sorry, excuse me 1 second. Sorry.
Sorry. No. Don't apologize. So the
No,
upshot anyway is that we agreed to something and we did not honor that agreement.
in a
Not only
in a
that, we sponsored a coup.
memorandum, and
Yeah.
it's
Right.
not in a treaty. And
Yeah.
so people
Well.
will say,
Yeah.
"Well, too bad for them. They're so stupid to believe us." But I'm sorry. I mean, no, that's not the way it should work. So
Right.
we, you know,
Right.
the USSR lost between 26 and 27 million people in World War II. They lost about 1.8 to 2 million people, 2.6 million people in World War I. You know, they were invaded multiple times. I mean,
Yeah.
I sort of, even if I don't like Putin, even if I detest Putin, I've got
Right.
to be smart enough to see. And frankly, I don't detest him. I think he leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
But the guy's no
Sure.
Dumbo.
Right.
We have to be able to understand why he might. I mean, that's what diplomacy is all about. Right?
Right.
We have to understand why he might be concerned about
Yeah.
having NATO troops, weapons on his border.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
again, should he have invaded? I mean, from my standpoint, no,
No.
he shouldn't have. We should have figured out a different way. But were there
Yeah.
multiple attempts to try and figure things out that we and our British colleagues
Yeah.
sabotaged? Absolutely.
Yeah. No, we scuttled the
So,
deal. They even had
yeah,
a working peace deal that both sides agreed on,
yep,
Ukraine and Russia, and our little, our little Boris Johnson puppet, our weird
yep,
Muppet man Boris Johnson came in there and scuttled the deal. Said we will not support this. We will
yep.
not give you the security guarantees that you want. Do not make peace with them. We'll, just go and die. And so that's
No,
what they did.
I mean,
Yeah.
so what is one? What is another country? What are other countries to make of our guarantees, our word, right? I mean, we say to the Iranians, we really don't want you to have nuclear weapons because we don't want a nuclear zone. Well, we know as well as anyone that the Israelis have nuclear weapons and would use them
Right.
and might use them
Right.
still. It'd be a
Yeah.
disaster, but But I mean, why would they not want to have them? Now, again,
Yeah.
believe me, I don't want any part of that stuff. But to understand from their
Yeah.
standpoint, look what's going on. And we're doing nothing but making it worse. We made it worse
Right.
with Obama. Sorry.
Right.
We made it worse with
Yeah.
Obama. It was worse with Trump 1. It's worse with
Yep.
Biden, Harris. And it's going to be, I'm afraid, worse now with Trump
With
2.
Trump. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's
we can't. But wait, one second. One
yeah.
last thing.
No, go ahead.
I've got 7 minutes. One last thing, and that is, so what do we do? I mean, Joe Hill, when he was murdered by the copper bosses, I believe it was in Colorado. I
My
mean,
man.
he is said to have said before he died, "Don't mourn, organize." Or at least if he didn't say it, the song that was written about him did say that. We are
Yes.
in big trouble, but we need to organize, not along sort of what's the term?
Identitarian lines.
Not along identitarian lines, not in terms of identity politics. They matter, right? I mean, diversity
Sure.
matters, but
Sure.
class politics. We have to come together and
Exactly.
organize. We need a working class party, and working class. Well, what about a women's party? But most of the working class in the United States, much of it, is women, are women.
Right.
And I mean, I'm a physician, but I don't own the means of production. I own my knowledge. That's what I own. That's all I own. You're working class. In other words, working class is pretty broad. It is all
Right.
of us who do the work. We need a party that represents us. The Republican Party represents the fascist wealthy of the country, and the Democratic Party represents the wealthy of the country, who are on the edge, if you ask me, of fascist. So,
Right.
So we need to organize. We need to come together. We need to argue, and we will argue. We will disagree, but we have to see the things that are bigger than our individual areas.
Exactly.
And come together and sort of problem solve. And it won't be this week or next week. This is generational. But that's the only thing we can do to solve this problem.
And internationally as well. Not even just just nationally. Not even just inside the U.S. It is something that we all have to work together to achieve. And furthermore, if we're locked out of the levers of power in terms of electoral politics, then all the more reason that we have to work together. I don't think that change is going to come from the top. It has to be a grassroots thing. That means organizing in terms of labor. That means organizing internationally. That means fighting. And here we are. Trump is president. However we got here, we got here. Trump is president. There's no sense in denying it. There's no sense in anything else. I mean, the Republicans, may have the majority they need to do all kinds of terrible things. And if the Democrats were in charge, we'd probably see all other terrible things. Maybe not some of the same ones, but nonetheless, ending this genocide, that is something that the people have to do. The government's not going to do it for us.
That a law that Schumer wanted to pass after the election, but before the inauguration of whomever had won, was a law that would make it illegal, as in Britain, to use certain words. when you're talking
Right.
about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, quote unquote. I mean, that's Schumer,
Yeah.
Democrat, big liberal.
Right.
I'm sorry, no, the guy's bought and sold. I don't know what his deal is, but I know his AIPAC monies are quite high. Again, speaks to the fact that we need to fix campaign finance reform to fix everything else. So internationalism, yes, fix the things we can fix here. We have to organize together. We are not going to give up. There's an old saying, I believe it comes from the Torah, which is just so beautiful. It says, a man, in this case, a man or a woman, a person, is not obliged to finish the struggle for justice, but he or she is obliged to begin the struggle for justice. We have done that. You're much younger than I. I've been at this for 50 years, right? I think I've told you my first event, 1971, 72, UC San Diego. And I'm believe me, I'm not the example you want to use of a real activist, but I've done my little bits. We all have to do our bits.
Yes, you are.
The point is that we are obliged to push to make justice happen, to bend the curve toward justice. We may not see it. We probably won't see it, but that's what we have to do, even if we don't win. We do it because it's right, not because we're going to win.
Yeah. God damn right. Man, that is perfect. I could not have said it better myself.
Comrade nephew.
Comrade uncle, I love you, man. That is
love
great.
You, baby.
All right. Take care. Go get on out of here. I'll wrap everything up.
Okay. And don't forget all that stuff that I sent you to put on our so they can see it.
You got it.
And don't forget the entry music and the exit music. Very important. The ones we have are perfect.
You got it, my man.
Bella,
you got
ciao.
it.
Ciao, Bella. Ciao.
No, Bella, ciao. Yeah.
All right, man. Okay.
Bye.
Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I love you, man. See ya.
And we are done.
E ho trovato l'invaso, oh partigiano, portami via, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, 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 partigiano, portami via, che mi sento di morire. E se io muoio da partigiano, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. E se muoio da partigiano, tu mi devi seppellire e seppellire lassù in montagna. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Seppellire lassù in montagna, sotto l'ombra di un bel fior. Tutte le genti che passeranno, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. E le genti che passeranno ti diranno che bel fior. E questo è il fiore del partigiano, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Questo è il fiore del partigiano, morto per la libertà. Questo è il fiore del partigiano, morto per la libertà. Questo è il fiore del partigiano, morto